Every entrepreneur sails through predictable phases, and once you learn how to recognize them, everything changes. I'm Lynette Young, and this is the Entrepreneur's Voyage. Whether you're starting, soaring, stalling, or somewhere in between, you're in the right place. Stop surviving your business. Start navigating your journey. Now, I've lost businesses. I've also built businesses that run without me. I've had 6-figure sponsorship offers come through on the very first night that I dropped the brand new podcast back in the day. And I've also stood outside of an empty storefront watching strangers pick apart what was left of my dream like a bunch of vultures. 28 years of entrepreneurship and multiple businesses and business types have taught me something that changed how I approach everything. Business isn't linear, it's cyclical. And once you understand the phases, once you can name where you are, you could stop panicking and start navigating. This show is about helping you navigate every phase of your entrepreneurial growth. Today, we're going to start with the big picture, and I'm going to walk you through all 7 C's of the framework that I've developed. This is the same framework that I've been developing for about 26 years, maybe 27 years. It's the same framework I use with clients, the same framework that I'm turning into a book, and this same framework that would have saved me years, maybe decades, of unnecessarily struggle if someone had only given it to me earlier. Let me tell you who's talking to you. I spent years in corporate tech, network engineering, project management, and a lovely 4-hour-a-day commute that felt like success until 9/11 showed me how fragile that security really was. That was the push I needed to bet on myself. Since then, I've been building businesses. I ran a retail store that failed and taught me everything I know what not to do. I was a pioneer in digital media when podcasting was so new we didn't even have a word for it yet. And yes, that's the night that I landed a 6-figure sponsorship. I built a platform for over 1 million social media followers before the word influencer was a job title. I've also co-founded a software company that now operates across 5 countries, and I've built it to the point that it thrives without me. The point is, I've been in the storm. Hell, right now I am the storm. I've been becalmed. I've sailed into harbors that I never expected to reach. This framework comes from living it. Every single C, except for selling, I've been through, and I've helped other companies get through the selling C. And now I'm turning it into the book called The Entrepreneur's Voyage, working title, of course, that will go deeper into everything we cover. The problem was, books take too long to get into the world, so that's why I started this podcast. This show is where I'm going to give you every single tip that I know of that I can help every entrepreneur that's come before, during, or after me succeed and get to the sailing sea that they deserve to be in. The problem that this framework solves: traditional business advice gets it wrong. It treats entrepreneurs or business owners like it's a ladder. If you start at the bottom and climb your way up and have a couple setbacks, you'll reach success and stay there. It's linear, predictable, clean. That's not even close of how it works, not even close. I have the dirt and the scars and everything to go with it. It's not an easy path. There has not been a map that has made sense for me before now. When your growth stalls, you feel like you're failing. When you're doing so well that you can't keep up at night and everything is running at lightning speed, you feel like you're failing. When crisis hits, you feel like you've done something wrong. When you need to pivot, you feel like you're starting over from scratch. You're not failing. You're just in a phase that nobody gave you a map for. That's what the 7 C's framework provides, a map. If you know where you want to go, but you don't know where you are, you can't draw a line between the two. This isn't so hard that the phases are difficult. You can't avoid the hard phases, honestly, but you could recognize where you are at any particular point and navigate them with intention instead of panic. When I finally realized that not every phase lasts forever, behind the scenes, usually I see companies last in a phase about 2 years, even the good ones. The temporary setbacks stop feeling so traumatizing, right? I want that same shift for you. So the 7 C's overview. Let me walk you through each C. As I describe them to you, pay attention to which one sounds like where you are right now. Not where you want to be, not where you want other people to think you are, but where you actually are. Starting C. This is your foundational base. This is where you establish your clarifying mission, build your initial revenue, find your footing. The focus here is grounding, stability, and security. I've generally found that all businesses belong in the starting C for their first 2 years. Tiny exception here is if you've actually worked that job leading a company for someone else for some time before then, you can usually skip starting and get through that a little bit faster. When you're in the starting C and you're balanced, you feel resilient and confident even though everything is new. When you're struggling in the starting C, fear and uncertainty run the show. You second guess every decision. You worry about survival. Every entrepreneur passes through this C at least once. Many of us return to it every time we launch something new. Soaring C is the growth phase. And honestly, it's the one everybody chases, right? They thought that this one should be in the middle of my big crazy Venn diagram, but it's not. It can be crazy. This is where demand increases, opportunities multiply, revenue climbs. It feels like everything's finally clicking. Now, when you're balanced here, you're creative, adaptable, joyful. You're riding momentum and it feels incredible. But here's the warning. Rapid growth can mask serious problems. You could be soaring externally and drowning internally. I've lived that. The soaring C feels amazing, but it demands that you build systems to sustain what you're creating, or you risk losing it all when the wind shifts. The stalling C. Now, the stalling C is the plateau phase, right? You're doing everything that used to work, but growth is leveled off, maybe even declined and backslid a little bit. You push harder, but nothing moves. This phase tests your confidence, your willpower, and your determination. When you're balanced here, you dig deep, you get creative, you find new ways forward. When you're struggling here, you feel stuck, frustrated, and maybe even a little paralyzed by decisions that you cannot seem to make. This is what I want you to know. The stalling C isn't failure. It's an invitation to transform, but it doesn't feel that way when you're right in the middle of it. The sinking C. The sinking C is the crisis phase. Something breaks. Maybe the economy shifts. Maybe a key client leaves. Maybe you just burn out completely. External disruption or internal breakdown forces you into survival mode. This C strips away everything that is non-essential. It demands radical honesty about what's working and what isn't. Now, here's what I want you to hear from this. This sinking C is not the end of your story. It's forced clarity. Some of the best businesses I know, including some of my former businesses, were rebuilt on what I learned in this phase. When you're drowning, you finally figure out what actually matters. The shifting C. The shifting C is the pivot phase. Your business model evolves, your messaging changes, a new direction emerges, sometimes by choice and sometimes by necessity. The focus here is communication and expression. You have to find your voice again and speak your truth to everyone clearly, your customers, your teams, your partner, and most importantly, yourself. When you're balanced in the shifting C, you're creative, right? You're open-minded, you're clear about where you're headed. When you're struggling, it's when you can't articulate what's changing or why it's changing, you feel lost in translation. The selling C. The selling C is a transition phase. Now, this might literally mean that you're selling your business, but it can also mean major restructuring, bringing on partners, or preparing for a significant change on how you operate. The focus here is vision and foresight. You need to see what's coming and prepare strategically. That means documentation, systems, getting clear on what your business is worth, not just financially, but in terms of the value that that business creates. When you're balanced here, you have clarity and wisdom about what comes next. When you're struggling, you feel confused, disconnected, and unable to see the path forward. And of course, the seventh and last C is the sailing C. This is where everyone, in my opinion, should aim to be. This is the X on the map where the treasure lives. The sailing C is the mastery phase. It's where all the elements of your business work in harmony. Purpose and profits align. Your systems run smoothly. You're no longer at the mercy of the weather. You dance with it. When you're in this, reach the sailing sea, you find peace, gratitude, and a sense of sustainable success. You've integrated everything that you've learned in every other sea that you've been through to date. But here's what people don't realize. You don't reach the sailing sea and stay there forever. New business ventures pop up, new challenges, new growth. Those are all things that you're going to cycle through again and again, either internal forces or external forces. Mastery is not a destination, it's a way of navigating. Now, each of these C's has a very specific set of elements that you need to pay attention to, and I call them the 8 P's because I couldn't come up with anything better. Those are purpose, passion, perception, profits, process, perseverance, progress, and prosperity. Now, each C has 4 of these in focus. Some of these P's will drive you like a mainsail, right? So a mainsail in a boat or a ship is the propulsion, right? It's the power behind it. Other P's guide your direction like a head sail, and the head sail is how you navigate on the ocean. Now, knowing which P to focus on and which C that you're in is how you stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. Now, we're going to go deep on the 8 P's in upcoming episodes. Just know for now that once you identify what C you're in, there's a specific framework for navigating it. You're not guessing anymore. You have a system. And I will say here that even if a particular topic or episode isn't exactly where you are now, listen and pay attention, because chances are there's still glimmers of information and knowledge that you can use from it, and chances are you might be heading to that C sometime soon. Now, I want to make sure you understand something, because this kind of tripped me up for years. These C's don't happen in order. The order that I talked about them is the order of popularity, or like what the most people are in, right? So it's not you start on one, you go to the next, and you go to the next. That's not how this works. There's no straight line from starting to sailing, I will tell you that. You don't reach one C and stay there forever either. Like I said, you've got roughly about 2 years in my experience, especially for the bad ones. If you can get through those, like sinking, then it won't be forever. For example, right now you might be soaring in your revenue, but you're stalling in your team development. You might have reached sailing in one business and be back to starting with a new idea. That's not failure. It's the nature of entrepreneurship. Now, the point of this framework isn't to help you avoid the hard C's. You can't always skip them. The storms are coming, whether you're ready or not. The point is recognition, to know where you are, to stop wasting energy fighting the wrong battles. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Start asking, what does this C require? This shift saved me years of unnecessary suffering. I hope it does the same for you. So what's coming on this show? I've been developing this framework since 1999 is the very first time that I could find internet proof that I talked about it. I have literal hundreds of hours, multiple hundreds of hours of content to share with you. No matter what sea you're sailing in right now, there will be an episode or series that meets you exactly where you are. I also have thousands and tens of thousands of words on blog posts if that's more your speed. I go deep on both places, on the podcast, which is also a video, and on the blog. So however you want to consume information, I've got your back. We're going to go deep on each C. We're also going to unpack the 8 P's and how they work together. So I'm going to share my own story and other stories. So we will be doing solo shows, we will be doing interviews, that sort of thing. Because sometimes hearing how someone else navigated a storm is exactly what you need. And everything I share will be practical. These are tools you can use, strategies you can implement. This isn't just inspiration, but actual tactical application. Like I said, I'm also writing an Entrepreneur's Voyage book, and as that develops, you will hear the ideas here first. So consider this your backstage pass. I am in this for the long haul. I have been wanting to put this content to the world for literally 26 years. Now's the time. And if you stick with me, I promise that you'll never feel lost at sea again. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one question. Which sea are you in right now? Not just where you wish you were, not where you think you are, but where you actually are. You don't have to tell anyone, but you have to admit it to yourself. Just naming it creates clarity, and clarity is the first step towards navigating with intention. If this framework resonates with you and you're ready to stop feeling lost and understanding the phase of your entrepreneur journey, hit subscribe right now. I don't want you to miss it. I'm Lynette Young, and I believe that a rising tide raises all boats. That's why I'm here. That's why this show exists. Thank you for joining me on the Entrepreneur's Voyage. Fair winds and following seas.